Welcome to the Main Street Business Inside Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Wagner, Chief Program Officer at Main Street America, a nonprofit leading a collaborative movement dedicated to strengthening communities through place-based economic development and community preservation. Each week, join me as I travel the country and take a deep dive into the personal journeys of downtown and neighborhood entrepreneurs, the stories that far too often go unnoticed and unheard. Whether you're a small business owner who wants to learn from your peers or a community leader looking to better support your local business base, Main Street Business Insights is here to provide you with the tools, strategies, and personal stories to help you and all of your Main Street businesses thrive. So subscribe now and tune in every Wednesday to get inspired by the individuals driving our communities forward. How is your Main Street planning to celebrate America's 250th? Beacon Design partners with communities like yours to create custom American-made keepsakes that raise funds and celebrate local pride. These keepsakes turn historic moments into lasting memories, and they're perfect for any community event. Beacon Design will help you create a memorable keepsake that's crafted in the USA and trusted by communities nationwide. So visit beacondesign.com to learn more. Don't just mark the moment, make it memorable. Welcome to another episode of the Main Street Business Inside Podcast, where we explore the stories of small business entrepreneurs, trends, tips, and tools, and the successes and challenges driving businesses on our Main Street. I'm your host, Matt Wagner, Chief Innovation Officer at Main Street America, and really excited to be joined in this show by Megan Peterson, social innovator and founder of Mendo LEAP in Ukiah, California. Now, Mendo LEAP is an adaptive play center providing inclusive space for children and adults of all ages and abilities to discover their unique ability to learn, explore, adapt, and play. So that's LEAP. Now, Mendo LEAP isn't just a business. It's really a social venture, blending the drive for revenue with a commitment to tackling important community challenges. Now, in this episode, we're going to explore what it means to run a mission-minded, for-profit small business and the balancing act between financial sustainability and making and ensuring social impact. We're going to dig into the unique dynamics of social ventures, how partnerships are formed between nonprofits and for-profits, how collaboration is nurtured, and what happens when resources are scarce and competition can sometimes creep in. Sort of reality here. Join us as we hear directly from Megan about her unique journey to Mendo LEAP and bringing innovation process with beta testing to the realities of small business, the many lessons learned, and what other small business owners, frankly, can take away from her story. So enjoy, and we'll go ahead and see you on the other side. Hey everyone, Matt Wagner hosts the Main Street Business Inside podcast, and I'm back in Ukiah, California at Mendo LEAP with the owner and founder, Megan Peterson. Megan, welcome to the show, and thanks for having me here.
Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, it's I learned a lot from my colleague Gustavo, who raved about your business concept, and now that I'm here and I got a little bit of a tour, I know why. Now, so we're in for a great show, everyone. And as you know, we get started with the journey. It's really important to understand sort of what was the inspiration, especially that we're really in a social venture. I think that's quite unique to the show. And I'm glad we're going to be able to present the business with a really important mission. So, Megan, I'm going to turn it over to you. Tell us a little bit about your background and how this all came about.
Yeah, so we started Mendo LEAP in 2022. So my husband is a welding contractor and he had a contracting business. And in 2020, when all the shutdowns and everything happened,
Yep.
that definitely threw us for a loop. And so we wound up having to close that business. And we were trying to decide what we were going to do. We needed something that both he and I could do.
Okay.
His welding business, I couldn't just show up one day and do it.
A little bit of training for that.
Yeah. By trade, I'm a cosmetologist, so it's a little bit different. And we had seen how during COVID, him being home full time and what that did for our family. So at the time we had a newborn and we had a 2-year-old, and
oh wow, you were busy.
We were very busy. Yes. And so the isolation that COVID brought was really hard on us, and play became it was very healing for us.
Okay.
And we saw that not everybody had the play things that we had, and we saw how play brings people together, and so we wanted to come up with something that the community could utilize. We didn't know how we were going to do that. We had the concept of a membership base, because just with the theory that if everybody gives a little, then the whole community can benefit. And so we had started with that. We decided that we were going to sell our house, and COVID helped with that, because we kind of had to after losing my husband's business. And so we sold our house and we paid off all our debt. We bought an RV and we moved into the RV.
Oh my.
And so with a newborn and a toddler, we did that, and we just researched this business and tried to get some investors. And that's where we ran into some difficulties, because we're in such a rural area.
Yeah.
Everything for kids had shut down. And so we were hit with several walls, and it's just the answer was that it's not worth it. And so from my perspective, the children in our area is definitely worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we had to prove that it was worth it. And so that's where we decided that, okay, we're gonna prove it that it's worth it.
I just have to. It's very inspiring in terms of just your overall perseverance and belief in the concept. When so many things are coming at you, a lot of people would just give up. And I think that's an amazing attribute for just the character that you bring to this business. And so, the key with a social venture that's a lot different. It's not a nonprofit; it's still for profit, but explain sort of the mission side and how that interweaves with the business itself.
Right. So, yes. So the difference between a regular for-profit and a social enterprise or a social venture is what you do with the profits. And so for us, we reinvest back into the community. So we're constantly building programs that serve the community. So the more people that come, then the more programs that we can build. And we're mission minded, but we also believe in and subscribe to a for-profit model and being self-sustainable, really. I had researched going nonprofit because of our mission. Most organizations that we serve specifically people with developmental disabilities. Most of those are nonprofits, and I researched that, and I wanted to, but what I found and the advice I was given was that my life would be mainly looking for grants and finding grants and trying to remain sustainable with this outside income, and that's not what I wanted to do. Sure. I wanted to do the mission, and so I felt like it was going to be too focused on the money aspect of it if I went nonprofit. And so we decided to stay for profit, and that's where we opened our research and development facility, our first facility. That the idea was to figure out how to make it sustainable so that it's on its 2 feet and it will last a long time.
So tell me, describe the business in terms of what takes place. Obviously, we will make sure that we put the Mendo LEAP website on the show notes so people can sort of check it out. But maybe just in your own words, describe this facility and what happens here.
Yeah, so we're a development center. So we serve individuals with developmental disabilities and neurotypical people as well. So we have an open play area. We also have rooms that are for more private therapy services. And we also have a maker space, which is filled with arts and crafts. And we are utilized by the different agencies that serve people with developmental disabilities. And then we're also utilized by the public.
So that's one track of how, let's say customers, but participants come through agencies or just folks from the community.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So when the agencies come, it's usually either a behavioral therapist, a speech therapist, a physical or occupational therapist, and their clients are either children or adults. And then they can utilize our specialty play equipment. So therapeutic equipment for children is usually play-based.
Okay. So one of the things that's really interesting in terms of the facility itself and that model, and I know this is something that we talked about during sort of our pre-conversation, was that in many respects, the way that you've created a win-win for other social service agencies or organizations within the community is they don't have to make this investment. Mm-hmm. They have clients, they need to be served, and you have a facility, and that seems like an interesting business concept in many ways. That, oh my God, we've got a win-win situation. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Right. Yeah. So when we opened our Beta 1 facility, which was in our downtown area, it was a 2,000 square foot building. The idea was to research and develop the model. So I researched the community to see what services there were for children and what holes I saw. And I interviewed people. And so when I could see that there's a lot of agencies that serve people with developmental disabilities, which is great for our area, but all of them really struggle financially and don't necessarily have the tools that they need to serve their clients. And each of them have their own individual space, and the clients are going to each of them. And I just saw the inefficiency in that.
Yeah, everyone having to do their own thing, which is very capital intensive.
Right. Yeah. And there was definitely this divide from each of them, and I saw what impact it had on the clientele, and I heard what impact it has on the clientele, and so I researched, being this capitalist more mindset than nonprofit mindset, could see that there's got to be a better way to do this if we're working together instead of each as individuals and having the client have to go all these different spaces.
Yeah, exactly.
So I also learned how expensive equipment is. And in a rural area, nobody's going to have enough money to buy this equipment. So going off of our original concept of is if everybody gives a little, then the whole community can benefit. And so I just thought, well, if we purchase the equipment, then we can all use it. The whole community can use it, and then we can all benefit from it. And then also the concept of whole person care or person-centered thinking, which is a movement in the healthcare industry or the developmental disabilities industry, which is serving the whole person, as in like now we have a physical therapist and an occupational therapist working side by side, and this agency and this agency working together. And then they're all coming to their client here, which means that the client is going to be served just that much better if we're working in collaboration. And then their success outcomes are going to be so much more. They're already in a deficit because they're from a rural area, which is underserved. It's underdeveloped. There's low income. And so there's already this deficit of the projection of how successful they might be in life. And so if we can make things more efficient, then their success rate is going to go up.
Yeah. Could you talk a little bit about the sort of the business model? The way it sounds is you kind of have a business with these nonprofits. You have maybe membership and other sort of revenue sources. How do you think about the business aspects here?
Right. Yeah. So that part was definitely, I had no clue how anything works. I just made relationships and talked to these different agencies and just kind of asked like how, all of them said like, yeah, sure, that would be nice, but like really, how does that work? And so like I just kept asking and kept trying to figure out. And so it slowly started happening. And once we started getting contracts, so we got contracts.
Okay, so it's all that part of the business is contract driven.
It's contract driven, yeah. So whether it's where they contract to where their service providers are able to use our facility with their clients, or if we're contracted with each individual client, and then they can bring their own service provider with them. There's a lot of, so it's kind of each agency has its own contract, and we figure out what's going to work best for each of them, based on like what they can afford. Especially in a rural area, each agency is going to be different, because some of them are like national agencies where like this is a branch of it. Some of them are local agencies, and so what they can do is going to be different. So we just figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. And then if I'm just a local resident, I can become a member, or I can come to a class.
Yeah. So we are open to the public. So the public can come and utilize our facility. It's pay to play. So you come in and you can have a membership where you can come unlimited amounts of time throughout the month and save, or you can come and pay per visit. And we have a makerspace, which is another little add-on that we do. It's just a $5 add-on, but that helps to fund getting the makerspace going, because that one uses the equipment in the play area. It was just that one purchase, and because of how we started the business, we purchased it with no debt. But with the makerspace, it continually has.
You got materials in there. You got to constantly resupply. One of the things I was most intrigued about, and I thought was unique from a business perspective, was actually your approach to the launch. I think a lot of businesses, we sort of have this belief that you've got to go in and set everything up instantly. And you described this as kind of like you had like an R&D approach, like a research and development approach. I felt that was like extremely both like creative, but also like, I need to understand this a little bit more about like, so what led you to think about having a space in which you were first going to test a lot of concepts, versus just kind of running into it? Like, what was going through your head? Because that's not sort of normal. It should be, but like, so I'm interested in this.
Yeah. So it wasn't my original plan. So my original plan was we sold our home, and we were going to use what we had from that to put the down payment on a larger loan. We wanted to get, it was 1.2 million that we wanted to get, and we had enough to put the down on it to do that. But I got the opposition from the banks or investors that just thought this area just could not sustain something like that. So I wanted to go in and I wanted to have it built out from the start. When I got that,
you were originally going down that route.
But I did not want to take no for an answer. And I just knew that instead of just writing off our community because it's rural, we've got to be scrappy. We've got to figure out how to make it work. And so that's where I said, okay, well, I'm going to prove this to you. And so that's where we came up with, okay, I need to figure out all the details first. And to do that, I need to open a space. And so let's do it small and do it really well done. And then test out everything, track everything, and figure out how we can make this work in a rural area. Because I know it's got to be able to work. Someone's just got to take the time to do it. And so we decided that we were going to do it.
But it's a great I think option and opportunity, because not everyone does have the capital to go from A to Z overnight. So to think about your business as being sort of in evolution, where you can start small, you can test some things and kind of grow with it as you learn more, and it gives you kind of like instant market feedback, which can be great for then having to raise money or whatever, because you've got these sort of testimonials and you've been able to demonstrate that the concept can work.
Right. Yeah. We were received so well by the community. When we opened, we were, for months straight, we were packed when we opened in our first facility.
And it's packed now, folks. I was out there. I was like, oh my, there's a lot of people here.
Yeah, it's been great. And everybody wants us to be successful, I think, because we approached it the way that we did in a very thoughtful and meaningful way, not cutting corners and with a lot of integrity, and also asking for feedback. People really liked that and they wanted to give us their feedback. And so we took the constructive criticism, and I was excited to hear that constructive criticism. And so taking that really made a difference.
Yeah, it's really cool that you actually had sort of feedback loops, and you were willing to because a lot of people would go, no, this is how we're going to do it. But it sounds like you were very open to change, and you were learning at the same point, which I think brings me to sort of another question. A lot of people come in, with a lot of passion, but maybe don't have a particular background or experience. And I guess I'd love to understand how you've learned along the way. Was it through textbooks? Was it through YouTube? How did you learn this? Because it wasn't your background.
Yeah, definitely. So I have a neurodevelopmental disability. And so I am used to not understanding things.
Yeah.
And just having to figure it out. I'm used to being the different one and not fitting in. And so when I didn't fit in that, the corporate world with other business owners, and I just think differently. And so that has its downfalls, but it also has its benefits as well. And so I am able to hyper focus really well on a topic that I really like. And so I will research for 8 hours straight.
You will
get in.
Yeah.
And and then but then there's other things that I just can't stand doing. And so, but that's where you have to be smart about how you do things. And so I hire people who are really good at the things that I'm not good at. And I just did a lot of research, a lot of reading. I did take a course on, it was an online course it's called the Profitable Play.
Okay.
I'm butchering the name of it right now. But anyway, I took that course 3 years ago. And it was really great. And so it talked about the play cafe concept. And so that was my original concept that I was.
So it was specific to the business.
It was kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and yes, I just watched YouTube videos because I don't have a degree. I went to school for 3 years to be a preschool teacher, and then I dropped out right before graduation, and then I became a cosmetologist. And I did have a one-chair salon when I got out of cosmetology school. It was just me. So I kind of have always had that entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah.
But I think most entrepreneurs that I find are some sort of neurodivergence. I'm ADHD. Most of them that I find are ADHD. Have all that energy to put towards one.
But what I find amazing about you, and very quickly, is while you can ideate and be very creative, you have the profound ability to execute. I mean, the going from concept to this is not an easy proposition. And I think the way that you discovered by kind of taking a macro look, what I would think of as kind of like a health ecosystem of all these different stakeholders, and quickly seeing where there are gaps and challenges with the current system and where you can plug the hole. I think it's just amazing, and huge compliments to you. When you think about taking the business forward, what does that look like for you? What is long-term success or growth? How do you define that for your business?
That's a good question. My husband keeps asking me that question.
Now I have it.
When are we ever going to not be in this phase? But I think that we're always going to be in this phase of building programs. Yeah. I love writing programs. And so figuring out all the tiny details of how can something be successful is what I love to do. And so moving forward is just continuing to build the programs that I've already written, and making those connections and serving the community more.
Yeah. Do you sense and I don't want to put you on the spot by any means, but this model seems rather unique. And I think to your point about something that's able to work in maybe under-resourced areas in other communities, is that something you foresee in your future where you've got that potential to, you're in Ukiah, but could you be elsewhere?
I think so. Part of our mission is to help make our region one of or the most adaptive friendly or disability friendly communities. Part of our give back to the community is we want to be able to help upgrade all of our parks and make our region to where it's inclusive of everyone. And the idea behind that is to be an example for other regions. And so I think that the way that I've written my programs, I think that would be beneficial to do it. And I have plans to do it in our surrounding areas.
Gotcha. And what keeps you up at night? Obviously things are going well for you, but I'm sure like in anyone's life, there are ups and downs in the business. And I wonder in sort of the current times are there things where you've got challenges where you're trying or barriers to what you're trying to accomplish, and how do you think through those solutions?
Yes, they definitely keep me up at night. So our clients and our staff is what keeps me up. So I want to be able to employ my staff, and I want to pay them a living wage, which is really hard here in California. And that is the main thing that I think about, is wanting to be able to keep them on staff. And if they're putting in 40 hours per week, that's most of their time in their lives. And I feel like they should get a living wage. Being in a rural area, it's hard to pay that. And especially with all the different regulations and the requirements of us. And so trying not to think about like each day, how many people come through the door.
Because you're thinking about how does that equate to my ability to accomplish that?
Yes, because I care about them, all their staff. I hire other neurodivergent people and want to support them in their success. And so that's difficult. And so that's where I like to call it my scrappiness comes in, where I'm creative and trying to create the model to be where I'm not dependent on how many people come in each day, to where there's other contracts going on and other things that we can do. And that's where hiring other neurodivergent people, where they each have their own different unique specialties and things that they like, I can utilize my facility to help support what they want to do that maybe they couldn't do on their own, but through my facility they can. And so I help them build what they want to do.
You just mentioned something that I think is really critical, not only for like a social enterprise, but one in which I think we're seeing some evolution with small businesses, and what I like to think of as like Main Street businesses that's particular to those. And you mentioned the word community. And I wonder how you think about community building as a business, because traditionally I think community might have been thought of as being built in a social organization of some sort, civic club, or things that happen in a library or something, in the public realm. But think of it in a for-profit. Looking around, it does seem like this is a place where people feel like they belong. And I wonder if you respond, like, is that part of your thinking, and how you think about community here?
Yeah, definitely. We want to create community, and we want to influence the community as well. So because we serve neurodivergent individuals and adapt to their needs, we are looking to help them to feel welcome, because in other aspects of society, especially in a rural community which lacks resources, they can very easily be forgotten and not included in society and in decision making and all of that. And so for here, we want them to feel welcome. And it's actually really a really interesting concept. We kind of flip everything upside down here. So when you go to the park is designed for a neurotypical family, and there's no gate, there's play equipment that you could fall out of. It's like 10, 15 feet up in the air. The bathrooms are not I mean, they might be ADA accessible, but that's not great. And so a neurodivergent family, a family with someone with a child on the spectrum or in a wheelchair or any other type of disability, they usually do not feel welcome there. And in society, they don't feel welcome either. It's hard when you're segregated in the classroom, on the playground. People don't know how to interact with each other. They don't know how to ask questions. And so here we cater to the families that are different. And so we help them to feel comfortable so that they can be themselves, they can be their best selves. And the neurotypical people coming in, they might feel a little bit uncomfortable because things are catered a little differently and it's different than what they're used to seeing. And so we've gotten to influence our community in what it looks like to be adaptive and to be inclusive of people who are physically or developmentally different from you. And it's been beautiful to watch. It's been difficult, and it's been really interesting.
But it would seem that in many respects you then build bridges of understanding because of that.
Yeah,
I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, definitely.
I always like to close with, this is a lot of folks that listen or are watching on the video cast or other small business owners like yourself. And we like to share advice or reflections things that you've learned over time that you want to share. And I wonder what some of those pieces of advice or reflections you've had.
I definitely would give myself, if I could go back, I would give myself the advice that you're going to get opposition in the business world, and just be prepared for that. Learn how to hear the word no and not let it affect you deep in your core. It doesn't mean your being is being told you are bad. It just means that person doesn't necessarily believe in your vision. And then the other thing I would say is that it is your job to be the biggest advocate for your vision. And so if someone else doesn't understand it, that means that you need to be more creative in how you can share it. And
That's really good advice. And I'm just so thankful that you allowed me to come in today and have this chat with you. And not only is it great from a business perspective, but just thanks for all you're doing for Ukiah and the community and for folks coming to Mendo LEAP. It's wonderful, and I think we all learned a lot from you today on the show. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Welcome back. That's it for today's episode of the Main Street Business Inside podcast. Now, a big thank you to our guest, Megan Peterson from Mendo LEAP in Ukiah, California, for sharing her story and insights with myself and all of you. Now, we heard how she's turning her space into a kind of an innovation lab, using it as a beta test to new ideas and refine the business model with an eye towards scaling and replication, a really smart approach. We also learned how her approach to partnerships shows what's possible when mission-driven providers collaborate instead of competing, really creating an ecosystem that makes the most of scarce resources. It's a model that demonstrates the power of shared strengths to better serve participants and build something that feels more like a collective rather than a siloed approach to social resources. Now, if you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who cares about the future of small businesses and the importance they play in providing quality of life to the communities we all call home. And stay tuned for upcoming stories of Main Street businesses, trends, subject matter expert commentary, and more that are on the way. In the meantime, remember to check out our growing library of podcast recordings and other related films of the podcast on our Main Street America YouTube channel. Thanks for listening. Until next time, thanks for all the support.